Frederiksberg is an independent municipality located within Copenhagen, making it an island within Denmark's capital. With about 100,000 inhabitants and almost no industry sites, Frederiksberg has a comparatively high population density, close to 12,000 inhabitants per square kilometer, making it more than twice as dense as Copenhagen. A fact which makes its population more at risk to flooding events, since it's likelier that a higher number of people is affected simultaneously. Despite not being located directly at the coastline, Frederiksberg is nevertheless at risk of being flooded. This is due to a combination of an old drainage system, as in many older European municipalities, which is not capable to absorb huge amounts of water, and heavy cloudbursts, which increase over time due to anthropogenic climate change. Combined with a low perception of the existing flood risk among the local population, governing flood risk is a complicated and intersectional challenge.
In recent years, Copenhagen has been hit by several extreme events, causing a lot of damage to the city's building and infrastructure. Many locals remember the 2nd of July 2011, where the city was hit by a major cloudburst. Like many other coastal cities across the globe, Copenhagen is at risk of urban flooding events. Events that are likely to be more extreme and more frequent with climate change. As the world becomes more urban, how we plan, live and build our cities are important for dealing with climate change. Building resilience and adapting to climate change is thus crucial for urban politics and planning.
Domus Vista is an iconic high-rise in Frederiksberg and a symbol of a densely populated area. Here, Frederiksberg Municipality and the local utility company have worked actively with citizens to create flood prevention that will protect the buildings from future floodings. In this particular context, residents themselves took initiative to dialogue with the local authorities following a series of flood incidents.
There's a huge distinction in the ways that citizens they perceive risk, both in general but also in case of emergency incidents. Now take the case of cloudburst here at Frederiksberg in Copenhagen. Back in 2011 there was a very severe cloudburst. Large parts of the city were flooded at that time. And if you ask some of the citizens here at Frederiksberg, they are much aware of the risk of flooding from cloudbursts. They remember the incident back in 2011 and they know exactly how to handle and take their own precautions in case that a new cloudburst will strike again. But then, on the other hand, there are other groups of citizens that are not at all aware of the incident back then. Actually, they are not at all aware that a flood can appear here at Frederiksberg, since there is no seashore. So flooding in case of cloudbursts are not at all a risk that they are aware of. Resilience will be obtained through a more differentiated communication effort. If we treat target groups differently concerning their risk perceptions, we will obtain a higher degree of resilience in society. A cloudburst is very, very difficult to predict. And this is why it is very, very seldom that warning messages are sent out in advance before a cloudburst. But when a cloudburst appears or occurs here in Denmark, very often and very fast, authorities, weather services, news media will communicate on the event and on what measures that can be taken by citizens in order for themselves to prevent their home and their property from being damaged. And very often they reach a large group of people very, very fast. In a case of a cloudburst, some of the citizens, they will listen very closely and follow the instructions from the authorities. But other groups of citizens, they will not to the same extent listen to the authorities. They will talk to their neighbors, to their friends and to their family members in order to get an insight into what can be done in their situation. Talking to neighbors, talking to friends and families will get them an insight that is very valuable, and very often they will actually get a close impression of what is going on in their own local area. By communicating to each other, also on social media, people will get a good and precise insight into what is actually going on in a crisis. And what the LINKS project wants to obtain is to investigate how these resources can be used to create an even more resilient society in the future.
In the Danish case team of the LINKS project, which is part of the European Union's Horizon 2020 fund, we address these issues by looking at social media and crowdsourcing in disaster management. More specifically, we ask how these techniques can improve the resilience of societies in the preparation, prevention, response and recovery for, to and from such environmental disasters. If you're interested to learn more about this project, visit our project website or follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn or Facebook.